live from our Columbus office, this is Chameleon Cast with Christopher McGurn and Michael O'Connor. Hey everyone, how you doing out there? Welcome to the first ever podcast episode for Chameleon Cast. My name is Christopher McGurn.
And I'm Michael O'Connor.
And today we're very excited to share with you our story, our friendship, us as a company, how we all came together, how we've gotten to where we are today, and kind of everything in between there. Yeah. We're very much looking forward to that, and starting off this series with the podcast, we're very excited moving forward, really, with just what we're going to be sharing with you guys as far as like industry tips and tricks, Chameleon and like what we offer, who we are, what we do, but also honestly, I mean, this is very much based on like for the customer. It's for you guys. It's for the viewers in the sense of like, what do you want to know from us? Do you have questions? Is there stuff that we can answer? Is there stuff that we can help you with, provide for you? So it's very much focused on that. Chameleon Cast is very much for the viewer. And so I guess that's where I want to start is really, Michael, if you want to go ahead and explain, Chameleon Cast and really the three pillars for Chameleon Cast. Like, what is it that we're about here?
Yeah, sure. So our three pillars, as you said, are innovation, information, and impact. And we call them the 3 I's here at Chameleon Cast. And essentially, starting off with innovation, we intend this podcast to reflect who we are as a business, who we are as individuals, what our goals are. And so really one of our big company kind of focuses is innovation, is that kind of collaborative spirit towards progress and newness in work, in what we're able to supply our clients and what our initiatives are as a company. And so we want to kind of give you an insider look into what we do, who we are, but then also foster that innovation in others. We want to give this as a sounding board to you, our lovely viewers, as a place to, throw us questions, ideas, cool things that you've heard about. We want to be able to discuss, kind of create a community that harbors and fosters this innovation. So we want it to be both about us as a company, showing that innovation to the world, but also as a place for innovation to grow throughout the entire community here, both us and all of you guys. So that's kind of our focus for innovation. But then that kind of ties pretty well into information. We want to make this informational as in valuable, as in it provides something to you. We're not just
We want it to be worth your time.
We're not just up here on a grandstand. Exactly. We want it to be worth your time to watch this. I mean, it's a half an hour show every week. It's not chump change there. So we're not doing 5-minute clips for this. We want to make sure that it's worth your time. And I think speaking for both of us, that the informational aspect comes from our company certainly, but also the industry that we work in, the kind of initiatives that we're moving towards. We're not going to be just always talking about this client, this employee, that. We'll talk a lot about our company. It's Chameleon Cast. But at the same time, it's going to be a more holistic kind of approach to what we're doing, what's happening in our industry, what's happening in our world. And I think that actually very neatly ties into the third pillar, which is impact, in that really what we intend this podcast to be for is for results, to be able to provide you with ideas and results, to provide us with ideas and results from your feedback, because really our entire business model revolves around client-centric results, around that kind of impact for the people that we work with. And we'd like to kind of be able to pull that out of what we do and also have that in this kind of setting as well, of a content-forward setting where we get to talk, we get to share. We'll have guests on the show as well. In the future, we'll have employees and clients and associates come on and discuss things with us. But we want to always be focused on the results and the impact that can be brought about through this show.
Absolutely. And I mean, to sum it up very, very concisely, is we want this to be worth your time. We're not just here to talk. Both of us, have very busy schedules with our jobs. We didn't actually mention it. I'm the chief creative officer for us, and Michael is our chief financial officer. And before we forget to mention, we actually do have a third founder who's not able to be with us here. His name is John Michael. He's our chief executive officer, and he's actually doing grad school out in Denver, Colorado. And so he'll definitely be listening in. And we hope to get him on some future episodes as well, radio him in kind of thing, or hopefully get him here on set. But we're in our Columbus studios here. So just so you guys know, there's the three of us founders. And that's actually what we wanted to talk to you about today as well, is really our story. We were friends before founders. And, what does that look like? So many people ask us, like, okay, so, like, how did this whole thing start? Where did this happen? Like, how, all of that. And so that's what we would love to share with you today as our first episode, is really like, we want you to be able to get to know us, to encounter us before we go into more of the, what Mike was mentioning, more of the business trends and, the tips and tricks and the informational stuff. This particular episode is very much geared towards the personal, get to know us. We'd love to get to know you as well. And so, Mike, would you like to explain how we met, the two of us? It's quite a funny
story, yeah. So the first time I met you, I do believe, was in a bathroom, and I believe the second time I met you was in a bathroom.
I would say the first,
and I believe the third time I met, probably the first 5 times that I met you was in a bathroom at our old alma mater, a good old Franciscan University. A little shameless plug there. Great place to go. I think the first 5 times that we met each other were probably in...
Sounds about right.
The same bathroom every time, too. So we lived on essentially the same residence wing. And Chris here was the coordinator of a household on Franciscan's campus, which is essentially kind of like a fraternity. And I was the RA, kind of the classic police role.
A wonderful RA at that.
But I didn't have to do a whole lot, because Chris and his folks did a real good job of just being real goody-goody. So it was a good time. It was a very easy job.
That's what we wanted to think.
That's what they always told me. It was an easy job. It was a good job. But it was great because I got to meet Chris. And then we had one class together, I think, as well. I think we only had one class.
Yeah, so I guess our background. So I was a communication arts student. So I was, the graphic design, videography, photography, and Michael was economics, right? So we didn't really have, our class schedule didn't really line up, but we did have one class together, and we were definitely the worst two in the class. And it was an iconography, like art class, essentially. And everyone in the class was like so good at like painting, and Mike and I just... We didn't belong there, but it was so fun, and we really got to bond through that, I would say. And we did pass. So
we did. That's true. That's true. We did pass, and I think really until there's kind of a gap there where we kind of knew each other pretty well. The whole idea of the business was 2.5 years in the making, and we had both mutually met John Michael as well. I met him through business classes that we had together, and I believe you met him through your household. And we both kind of met, so we all three of us knew each other, but I think really where we hit it off was this past summer at John Michael and his lovely wife Rebecca's wedding. And Chris here was the best man, I was one of the groomsmen, and it worked out that I was going to have to drive pretty much right by where he was living anyway, so I kind of just called him up and was like, hey, Chris, do you want to save money on gas?
Always.
And he was like, yeah, that sounds great. And I guess, I don't know, a flip switch. Like, we were really hit it off that whole ride.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a long ride, all the way down to Virginia. So it was a long...
And back.
And back, and back. And it was a good ride. And I think that was kind of where things really started to get rolling.
Yeah, I don't know. Absolutely. No, I agree. I mean, like, before that was like, we knew who each other were. We would hang out a little bit, like, with mutual friends and whatnot. But that was the first time. It was just Mike and myself for, probably 8+ hours back and forth, one-on-one. I would say out of, like, the 8 hours total, probably 7 of those hours we were talking about business, this, idea here, idea there. And to put it in perspective, like, as far as the business, like, the two of us and John Michael, like, all of us really, for about 2.5 years, we were talking about how we wanted to start a business together. we went through a whole list of names, probably like 10 different names, 10 different, approaches and this and that. But we knew it was something that we wanted to do for a while. I'd say, about 2.5 years in the making. And so we talked about that most of the car trip, I'd say.
Yeah. And it was interesting because it is something we had planned for a while, but it was also something that we weren't planning on doing anytime soon.
Right.
We were thinking 2 to 3 years after graduation, kind of in a more
get established
place. And that did not happen. That's not the way it went down.
Would you like to explain what exactly happened or didn't happen?
Sure. I would love to. It was really, it was only a few months after the wedding because we went into the wedding. We all kind of had the ideas of what we're going to do. I was starting at a tech company in Cleveland. Chris was starting at a media company in Columbus. And John Michael was kind of preparing to move out to Denver for grad school. And he was also looking for some like engineering jobs as well. So everyone was kind of in a flux. And we all kind of started doing those things. And then probably, I think it was only about two and a half months.
That sounds
maybe
about right.
3 months later, all three of us in different ways kind of came back to the three of us as a group. And none of us were really satisfied with what we were doing. I was originally thinking I was going to be leaving the job that I was working to go into academics. I was looking at doctoral programs in economics, kind of an educational thing. Chris, didn't have a very good experience where you were either.
It was a very sketchy situation. And essentially it was just not working out. I really needed to get out of there. And it was just like, I need to get out of here, but I also need money. And so it's really funny. Like, the way that this all started, essentially, is I called John Michael, and I was like, dude, like, I need to make money. Like, I'm about to leave this job. I can't stand it. I can't do this anymore. But I'm also not going to be able to pay rent, groceries, all of his stuff. So it's like, what do I do? And John Michael, as he always does, he's very, very good in these situations. He was like, okay, let's think about this. So, like, this is what you're good at, media stuff, essentially, social media, this and that. Like, why don't you just start your own, like, business? You could do the hours this way. You can get this all set up, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah. And then we kind of both paused for a second. And he was like, dude, why don't we just start our business now? Like, I'm not doing anything. You're about to leave this. Like, why not just start? And I was like, yeah. It was perfect. And so we were like, what's Mike up to? And we literally call Mike, like, the next day, and we're like, Mike, like, how's everything going? He's like, yeah, guys, like, I'm not really liking this job, and I think I'm gonna quit. And we're like, really? You're gonna quit? Like, when are you thinking? Yeah, probably this week. And it was just like, well, okay. So, all of that happened literally within the span of a couple days, and within the week or so, like, we were up and running, and
our LLC,
we got the LLC. We finally got to our name Chameleon, which we'll explain in a second, like what, why we chose Chameleon, the thought behind all of that. But it was at that moment, it's like, I need to lead this sketchy situation. John Michael was in a state of flux, and Mike was not really happy where he was either. So all of that happened at the same time. We all came together, and that's really how the company started. So, Mike, would you like to explain? I guess first off, like, do you have anything to add to any of that?
No, I'd just say it's a crazy story, And
I'm glad it happened the way it did.
I know. In the moment, I was wondering what I was going to do. If I was going to go into education, how would I kind of logistically do that? I still had a lease on an apartment in Cleveland for the next year. And call came out of the blue, and things started working out, and they kept working out, and they kept working out, and here we are.
And here we are today. Why don't you go ahead and explain to them just like a little bit about like why Chameleon, the thought behind that, our motto and all of that.
Yeah, sure. So our motto, which I absolutely love, is we blend in so you stand out. And really, like, the philosophy of that, I think, is exactly why we are called Chameleon. Essentially, we really strive to be client-centric while having a situation where in the industry that we work in, it's kind of rare to be able to provide that kind of client-centric value while also doing what we do of really focusing on brand fluidity, focusing on a holistic, full-service kind of opportunity for our clients. So for a good example, when you look at say the 1% of companies, the biggest companies in the world, the Apples, the Nikes, the Googles of the world, they really have an enormous stock of resources to be able to throw around to kind of make sure that anything that needs to be done in-house is done in-house, and they can have these massive departments that can run really all of their operations. Now, almost all of them are going to use agencies and third parties for a lot of different things, but they have the resources to kind of ensure a very powerful brand fluidity. And what that looks like is, take Apple, for instance. You get this feeling when you walk into an Apple store. Everything is glass and wood, very trim, very, very sophisticated, very cool looking, it looks very modern, sleek. And you get that same feeling when you pick up an iPad, and you're exactly not sponsored, or when you take up an iPhone or a Mac, the Mac, it's achieving this kind of feeling, these emotional responses even in the consumer that are very consistent on their website, on their marketing, the way that they brand themselves. And as soon as you kind of get into the lower echelons of businesses, it becomes very, very hard to do that. Whether it's for, capital sake, you just want to have the money to have those kind of teams in-house, or it's just, it doesn't make sense to. Sometimes we've talked to numerous founders and executives of various sized companies across the spectrum, and it's very difficult to kind of bring that about. But then the more challenging thing is when you can't do that, some people, they're having to hire 3, 4, sometimes even 5 different agencies to work on even just one project. Because sometimes you're going to have one agency that specializes in design. That's great. They're going to do the design, they're going to do the UI, the UX for this individual product. Awesome. You have another agency that's going to be doing all of the software, all the coding, the development. You have another agency that's coming up with a strategy for the marketing and everything. And then as soon as you kind of mash those together, it falls to the business that hired out those agencies to kind of make sense of all the kerfluffle of what's going on and try and make that a cohesive unit.
Kerfluffle. I like that word. Okay. That's one thing I love, and there's many things that I love, but that's one of the main things I love about working with Mike is you always learn these very unique words. Whether they're actually real or not, that's the question. But anyway, please continue. Kerfluffle.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
And I mean, some agencies do a good job about it, but sometimes there's just going to be a Donnybrook, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just a real bar brawl.
Oh, no.
And
I encourage you.
You did. That's dangerous. And that's what we encountered talking to numerous people about their experiences, especially on the larger project scale where it's really big, not quite big enough to have the millions and billions of dollars of big corporations to run it all. But it's a big project, and you have these massive moving parts that all have to kind of cohesively mesh, and that's really, really difficult.
I mean, there's so many people that we talk to, and they have such a difficulty with they go to one person for their website, they go to another person for their graphic design, and they go to another person for all their legal and finance. And, business A is missing their deadline, which causes business B to mess up, and then business C is like, what the heck's going on? They're not working with each other. They all want to do it their own way, and then the poor business that's contracting these 3 contractors doesn't get anything done, or at least not in the way that they wanted, not in the timeline that they need, because business A, B, and C can't get along and can't meet their own deadlines, and they want to do their own touch to it. And so essentially, when people are like, okay, so give me the one-liner for your business, what I like to tell people personally, it's a one-stop shop for all your business needs. So essentially, and we'll get into this in future episodes as far as our services and all of that. But we go and cover everything. We're a full service agency, from legal and finance to social media to marketing strategy, branding, graphic design, production.
Software,
app, websites. All of it. We're creating, the way we set it up, it's one spot to get all of the needs. And that's the exact thought we put behind it. And again, we'll talk about that in future episodes more in depth.
Yeah.
But what's really funny to me, just to go off of everything you were saying, so many times people ask us okay, so who's your target market? What's your brand? And I kind of laugh in my head okay, this, they're probably gonna laugh at this, but it's great. Another one of our taglines here at Chameleon is this: our brand is you. And, again, going back to the name Chameleon, like part of the reason why we chose it is like we like to adapt to the clients. I mean, our clientele varies from professional athletes to government contractors to vineyards and everyone in between. I mean, no day is the same for us. It's completely like you're doing one thing for one client and then the next client's completely different. And that's what's like one of the many things that's super exciting working this job. And it's funny, like people are like, okay, so like what's your brand? Is like, no, we're just simply like the white canvas that all of our clients and like our clients' products, that's our brand. So our brand is you. That's what we mean by that. Like we're the white canvas and they're like the paint that makes the canvas look nice. So that's like the best way to explain it. Like our brand is you. And, and people are like, oh, okay, well, who's your target market? And that's when it's like, oh, here it goes. Here it is. Like, so when people ask like, who's your target market? It's like, so basically the 99% that's not Google, that's not Apple, that's not Nike. And they're like, no, really, who's your target market? We're like, no, it is everyone. It's startups and businesses looking for, a new look, a new feel, a new strategy. And they're like, well, that's not reasonable. I mean, you got to narrow your market and this and that. And that's never been done before. And we're like, well, we know, like, that's why we're doing it. And they're like, oh, okay, well, good luck. We're like, thanks, we'll need it. And we know it's a challenge, and it does present a lot of unique challenges and whatnot. But, like, we're up for it. And we are confident that because it's not being done, that's one of the main reasons why we're going for it. Yeah. And I don't know, like, do you have anything to add to that?
No, exactly. I think that's exactly right. And I think that's a good description of what we do. I think it's even a mindset. The way that we strive to build a company, an entire culture around this idea of being able to blend in, change our colors for our clients' colors. And I think practically some of our clients are not full service. Not all of our clients get all of our services. We have multiple a la carte clients where, they just have us design an API software or a website or an individual marketing strategy or social media management. But we also have the clients that are full service, where we're really
everything
except for what they do best. I mean, that's one of our core principles is we are here to help our clients do what they do best, to be able to smooth out the rough edges, get rid of the annoying tasks, the tedious tasks, the difficult, the technical tasks, and really create for our clients an environment where they can do what they do best and excel at that. Because we believe if our clients are excelling at what they're doing, that's just a win-win. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge component of what we do is we really strive to be able to provide that environment, that full kind of situation that really promotes the client's success.
Absolutely. And essentially we're here to make your life easier. I mean, we remove the friction. I mean, that's exactly what we're for. I mean, that's what we're built on. Like, I was just talking to a lady the other day, and I was like, what is it that, what would you say like are your biggest difficulties? Like you're looking to start this business and you're thinking about going with us, like, what is it that you just do not want to do? What is it that you're just scared of? You have no idea how to do it. You don't have time. You don't care about it. Like, it needs to get done, but you don't want to do it. What are those things? And what she mentioned, which I totally understand, was like the legal, the finance, making sure, she's going to be okay. She's not going to get sued for this or that. Making sure that she has an actual strategy for her brand, for her business. She's like, I know it all needs done, but I don't want to have to do it. I don't know how to do it. And we're like, well, that's not a problem anymore. Like, that's what we're here for. And like, you could just hear it in her voice. She's like, and like, that's exactly what Chameleon is for with all of our clients. That's how we were designed. That's the thought put into everything. But, this cannot go without saying, like, we could not do any of this without our incredible team of 25 employees now.
Yeah.
All in their, in their industries. They're so exceptional. I mean, my graphic designers and production specialists from videography, photography, I mean, they're all like so good. Our marketing and legal teams that Mike oversees, incredible. Like they're so knowledgeable. They work so hard. Like, we could not do any of this without our amazing team at Chameleon. So a huge shout out to all of our employees, because we're not just saying that. We really wouldn't be where we are today without them.
And I think that's a huge point to make, because we started off when we started the company, really when it was just the three of us. we just focused on what the three of us did best. And then the way that we really created growth, because we've run the company very lean, very, very efficiently. But the way that we've kind of approached growth is when we have people that come forward and are exceptional in their field, we want to bring them on. We want the best of the best. And so far we've got that. I mean, all of our folks are just extremely talented at what they do and provide fantastic results. And that's something that I think is a really profound part of our culture, is not only, I'd say our services are geared toward creating an environment where our clients can do what they do best. And I think, one of our focuses for our internal culture is creating an environment for our employees to do what they do best.
Absolutely. And that actually leads me to my next question for you, Mike. You've referenced now a couple times like the culture, right? What are some words that you would describe the culture at Chameleon for us as co-founders, but really just everyone involved, from employees, the founders, clients? I mean, what's the culture at Chameleon?
Yeah, I would say some of the biggest components in our culture really are transparency.
Absolutely.
We focus a lot on transparency between us and our clients, us and our employees, everyone with everyone, really. We honestly believe that transparency and creating an environment where a very open door policy. Like if someone has a question to ask me, I don't want them to be afraid or in any way kind of anxious about asking a question or bringing up a complaint or anything, really. We want to be able to have a very transparent and very open kind of system that allows, and I think this is another one of our kind of big words, innovation. Something that we've found is that the diversity, the ability to have an open mind across an entire organization is really crucial for innovation, especially in an organic situation where we don't have a ton of money to throw at individual projects, ideas to kind of test if they work. We don't have the 1,000 light bulbs that Thomas Edison tried to, tinker with. We don't have a laboratory yet where we can test things and
not yet.
Work through. Not yet. We're getting there. We're getting there. But we don't have a process that we're going through. We're not a pharmaceutical company trying to create drugs. We have fantastic people, fantastic human capital that we're trying very hard, and I think succeeding in fostering an innovative process through diversity, through open communications, through very much a transparent system of thought, of action. The bottom line is if someone comes up with something that's a more efficient way to do something and they tell me about it, gosh, I'm going to take that advice. I'm going to do it. It doesn't make sense to, let our egos be something, higher than that.
One of the main things for me personally, and I recommend this, and I did not come up with this in any means. I've heard this from a lot of very experienced people. Surround yourself with people better than you. And that's been very helpful for me. I mean, the designers that I have helping me in my department are absolutely incredible, and I learn stuff from them every day. Maybe we do it this way instead of that way. And it's like, oh, I didn't think of that. Like, you're right. Okay, that's awesome. Let's go with it. First of all, having the humility to realize, no, I don't know everything. Yes, other people might know how to do things better than I am, and I'm just simply there to make sure stuff gets done and to help them do the best that they can.
Yeah.
And to put them in places where they're passionate, because that's where they're going to do their best work. And so I guess that's the next thing I want to go into, in this podcast is what are some of the biggest things that I guess you've learned? I mean, we've been a company for 6 months, and I know for me that's definitely been one of them, is surround myself with people better than me, because that's when I'm going to get the real stuff done. If there was, just because we don't have too much time left, say there were two things, two really big things that you have learned since we started, 6 months ago, what would those two things be?
That's a really good question. I would say one of those things would be that, kind of going off what you just mentioned, that I cannot, I cannot be doing all the stuff that I'm doing alone. This organization, this company that we call Chameleon, it's a body of creatives, of people, of individuals that come together and create this amazing thing. And I am definitely a part of that, but there's no way I could have achieved all this on my own. Like, I think just being able to say that you are a part of something bigger than yourself like that, I think is really powerful. And for me, just from learning in the last 6 months, I would normally consider myself a pretty independent person. I'm pretty competitive. Yeah. And I think that even just in the nitty-gritty of working with 2 co-founders, I think has been an incredible learning experience to be able to take criticisms, not personally, very business-like, be able to communicate more and more effectively as geographical bounds separate us as well. I think that has been an incredible learning experience to be able to be an individual in the part of something greater, in the part of a whole.
Yeah. I guess the 2 things for me, one, like I already mentioned, surround myself with people better than me. And I think the second thing is really to trust those people, to trust my co-founders, to trust that with or without me, Chameleon will continue to go on because of the people that we've got, running it and helping, putting all the time and effort into it. I think that's been, that need to trust everyone, from the founders all the way, to our photographers, videographers, graphic designers, and everyone in between. I mean, we all need to trust each other. And I think those are the 2 big things for me. And it's been a heck of a ride. And I'm very excited to see where it's going to go in the future.
Yeah.
And so to go off of that, as far as moving in the future, we are going to be having more podcasts coming up. It's going to be every Friday, 12 noon. We're going to be dropping a new podcast once a week.
High noon.
So high noon. And if you have any questions for us, any comments, we'd love to hear from people. We always do. Hit us up, Instagram, Facebook. We're going to be having YouTube videos once a week. We're also going to have the Spotify and SoundCloud for the podcast. And we look forward to hearing from you. And next week we're going to be having another episode. So if this was fun for you, we look forward to seeing you in the future.
This has been Chameleon Cast with Christopher McGurn and Michael O'Connor, the official podcast of Chameleon Solutions. Chameleon Cast. Innovation, information, impact.